Hello and welcome. I'm Temple Update's Meredith Haas here today with Temple University's president, Dr. Jason Wingard. It is so great to be sitting with you.
Meredith, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hey, thank you for taking the time. We know you have a busy schedule, but this is a great opportunity for us and for the students as well to hear from you.
Yeah, this is important. Thank you.
So, I'm going to jump right in. You came here a few months ago and you came here in the midst of a pandemic.
Yes.
So things aren't really that normal as they would be before. But what have you noticed between the Temple students and the Temple community and the community around? What's the relationship that you have witnessed?
The relationship I have witnessed, well, I have an interesting perspective, Meredith, because I'm new. So the new normal is my normal. This is all that I have seen. And so the experience I've had with our students, with our faculty, with the community members, with our staff, that's all that I know. And what I've learned is that there's a lot of pride for this T. There's a lot of pride for Temple, the Owl family, Owl Nation, the Nest. We are excited to be here. There is perseverance, there is grit. We are operating amidst a pandemic that's unprecedented. Nobody knows the rules for engagement, but yet we have only had a couple of weeks where we haven't been here on campus. So we've rallied together to be able to save our opportunity to be here on campus live doing what we do best, which is to experience education at the highest level. So I've witnessed and experienced people who are loving being together, who are enjoying and thriving in this educational environment, and who are exceeding and excelling and going out and representing us in the surrounding community and around the world. I'm really proud of that.
Is there anything specifically that you've seen where Temple community has made impacts with the community surrounding that live in the neighborhoods?
Oh, there's so many examples. So for example, our health system. We have probably the best trauma care unit in the world. And when there are cases of drug overdoses, when there are cases of violence by guns and others, where there are cases of COVID reactions and infections at an alarming rate, our health system has stepped up and has provided care to Philadelphia, first and foremost, to the North Philadelphia community, to the Temple community. We have done that better than most in the world. And so it has not been celebrated as much as it will be. The after effect of the COVID pandemic will show that Temple's trauma care facility unit, our systems, our healthcare facility did better than most. We reacted really well. So we should feel really good about how we did that, not only to advance science, but also the relationship we have with the community and how we were able to serve and save lives. It was tremendous.
Mm-hmm. And what about the individual students, the people that walk the campus every day? How have you come to educate and inform people about, the community and protecting it and keeping it safe? Because we are, a city within a city here. So how have we educated? How have you educated students?
Well, you're asking two questions in one. So I think one question is, we have educated by sharing information and learning. For one, I do my famous pop-ups where I walk around campus and I engage with students because I want to learn from you all. What is on your minds from a global perspective? What concerns you? What are you worried about? What are you excited about? Where are there opportunities for our students to really thrive and represent us moving forward? So I've learned a lot about how you all feel about the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. I've learned about environmental concerns that affect the global society. I've learned about food insecurity. I've learned about test optional standards for admissions. I've learned about access to education. So we are sharing, as administrators, as faculty, a lot of information about life, about business, about education, about community relationships. We are learning a lot from you. So that two-way street, that community, that ecosystem of learning and sharing and discourse on a university campus is what it's all about. And Temple does that as well as anybody else. The second part of your question, though, is around we are living in a country where there is a lot of violence. It's unprecedented following the pandemic, during and following the pandemic. Here in the United States, it's really bad. Here in Philadelphia, we have had more homicides in the city of Philadelphia than ever before in the history of the city. And so urban campuses around this country, Temple, University of Chicago, University of Pennsylvania, NYU, we are all struggling with this issue that there's a lot of violence in the country and in urban centers, and it affects our campuses. And so we have had to listen to and learn from our students and our community members about how we make sure that we maintain safety for the whole community, how we listen and supply resources for the areas where we have gaps. And so we have started to do that, and it has worked really well. We did a recent survey with our students, and I think it was close to 70–80% of the students who live on campus said they feel absolutely safe. Those who live outside of campus, further away from the ring of where we patrol and where our catchment area, if you will, about 60% feel safe. So we have some work to do with the city of Philadelphia, with the broader community, to make sure that we can provide safety for our students in our community even when they're not on campus. I had a meeting yesterday with Mayor Kenny, the mayor of Philadelphia, and with Commissioner Outlaw, who's the commissioner of the police department here in Philadelphia, to talk just about that. And what I told them was, our students feel safe on campus. Our lighting, our cameras, our new safety app, the audit we're doing with Commissioner Ramsey from the Obama administration, all the work that we have been putting in to make our campus safe has been working, and our students have reflected that they feel really good about that. But when students want to live off campus and when they want to navigate the city, they don't feel as safe. So we feel at Temple University and administration, it's our responsibility to partner with the mayor, with the police chief, with corporate and community organizations to make sure that we can extend that safety ring to other parts outside of campus.
So just in response to what happened on Saturday, there were some crime that occurred. And so how should Temple students that are living in the surrounding community, how should they feel about instances like that?
So it's a great point, Meredith, and my answer is that we are always proactively preparing for and resourcing, talking about, strategizing around safety for our students. We are in an urban setting, and so we always have to make sure that we're focused in that regard. And so it's not just an incident like the one that happened on Saturday. We're always doing that consistently. These opportunities, though, do give us a chance to reflect on, to learn, as you said earlier, from others in the community, the student body, et cetera, on ways that we can continue to improve. And so, it's most important to show that we feel compassion for the community and for our students, because we are a society living together. We love our North Philadelphia neighbors. We love our students. This whole community is one that is really rich for education. Some unfortunate incidents do happen, and we have to learn from those, and we have to be prepared to stop them from happening moving forward. So some of the things that I mentioned earlier, we have been putting into place, and they have been working. More lighting, more cameras, more police, and I'll come back to that in a second, more campus police, better relationships with the city's police, the app that we have, the ride-sharing programs, all of those are initiatives that we have started and enhanced this year, which have worked tremendously well. However, we do have to make sure that the communication about what these resources are, where they're available, is shared with the broader community. If we do all of this, and people don't know about it, then it won't work. So we have to make sure that we're communicating very clearly what's available. We have to make sure that we're sharing best practices with our peer institutions in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in Washington, D.C. What have they done that we haven't tried yet that could make our experience better? We have to make sure that we're communicating with your parents, because your parents aren't here. So the survey that students say they feel safe on campus, even amidst some incidents that happen that are unfortunate, your parents want to know, are my children safe? And so we need to communicate with them as well and help them to feel more comfortable.
And then there were those parents that set up their own private police force. I don't know if you heard about that, but
it wasn't a police force, but they did have a private security patrol.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, and our senior staff spoke with those parents. They learned from those parents. We're going to support them in continuing to do whatever it is that they think can make their students feel safer. Those students set up just for your audience, they set up a private patrol group, a person who rides around and calls if they see anything that's suspicious. But that's off campus, that's not on campus. And so when you send your students to Temple and they choose to live off campus, we can certainly be supportive of the students who choose to live off campus, but we can't control the whole city. So when we have students who are living in certain parts of the city and their parents want to help provide security, we can help with that. And we listened, and we are supporting that in a variety of different ways, even enhancing that activity. We're trying to do as much as we can, Meredith, to be helpful here and sympathetic. I'm a parent, I'm an educator, I'm the president of Temple University, so this matters to me. But my own kids go to college in New York City, and they've had incidents on campus similar to the ones we've had, worse than the ones we've had. And so I understand that makes me feel sad, that makes me feel worried, that makes me anxious. And so I understand when our parents reach out to our administration and say, what are you all doing to make sure that our students are safe? We're doing everything we possibly can. All the things that I just mentioned earlier, we're doing all of that. And then some, because the pandemic continues to grow, the violence pandemic continues to grow, and we have to be responsive to it.
Yeah, you even came out with like the Rave app.
Yeah.
Have you seen any positive impacts from that?
Absolutely. So the usage is far exceeds what we thought was going to be used for that app. And fortunately, when it's successful and when people use it and it works well, then the incidence of violence goes down. And so it's been a good thing, is what I'll say in summary. The ride sharing that we do when people use the app, when they call for cars, when they have a buddy system, all of the initiatives that we're doing, we've learned from our peers, we've learned from you all. They're all working really well.
What about the university looking into statistics? I know, you've been looking into gun violence and studying that. Mm-hmm. Has anything come of what has been found statistically, or just, research that you've done on crime?
Yeah, well, I think, mostly the research we found is that it's increasing nationally at an alarming rate. Something we can't do anything about. It's increasing at an alarming rate here in the city. Gun violence and all kinds of violence and safety concerns are increasing at a higher rate than we ever could have imagined here in Philadelphia. The statistics that we see here on campus are relatedly surprisingly low, right? So we have not had the cases and the incidents, the statistics that you're asking about have been really low here on campus. So we do know that what we're doing on campus is working. Being on campus, going to class, living here, having social experiences is a safe one. When you leave campus is where we must partner with community organizations, the mayor's office, the commissioner of Philadelphia's police department, to make sure that our students, as they navigate the city, and you all want to navigate the city, that's one of the reasons why you come to Temple University, is to benefit from the city of Philadelphia. So we want to make sure that we have as many pathways of partnerships and collaboration so that as you traverse the city of Philadelphia, you remain safe. But the statistics that we have on campus are that we are safe on campus, and we're really proud of that.
And what would you say to students that are looking for an answer of, how do I feel safe off of campus, or a potential student coming to Temple University that's thinking, what response do you have to them about safety?
Well, I think that the response is the same for any urban area, any suburban area. You have to use good judgment. So we have resources, we campus, the city. There are a lot of places where you can have access to resources where, do you want to ride the bus, take an Uber, drive with friends, have a buddy system, stay away from unlit areas, use the safety apps that are available, whether it's Temple's or others. So if you're aware and familiar with the avenues that you can travel and you can navigate the city and be safe, when people follow those mandates and those strictures, then they, by and large, statistically, are very, very safe. But when they don't, then there can be problems. So we have to do a good job as an administration. You as community and student leaders have to do a good job of sharing information. This interview right now is sharing information with your peer students about take responsibility for learning how to be safe on campus and off campus in the city of Philadelphia. If you follow those things, then you will feel good, your parents will feel good. If you don't heed that advice, if you don't heed those resources, then you're putting yourself in danger, and none of us wants that.
Now we're talking about rules or just guidelines of staying safe, right? And so there are guidelines that we put in place because of the pandemic, right? Yes. To stay safe with a pandemic going on. And you came here, we mentioned earlier, you came here during a pandemic. Yes. That is I mean, monumental. What president of a university has come in in the midst of a pandemic? I mean, what was that?
Yeah, it was an unfortunate time in the world's history. It was certainly hard for leaders to come into organizations during this time. I haven't had the opportunity as a person, as a leader of this institution, to meet very many people face to face. You know, I came into a situation where we were on Zoom. We were remote during the summer, and so I haven't had a chance to do things the normal way, quote unquote. But having said that, going back to what we said about what the Temple community does, we pivot, we adapt, we persevere, we make adjustments, we thrive anyway. And we have been able to do that, and I have felt really good about the reception I've had here at Temple University, the advice I've gotten from our health officials. I have a public health advisory council consisting of our chief medical officer here at Temple University, epidemiologists, infectious disease specialists, several others who have given really, really strong fact-based advice on how we move forward protecting our students and our faculty and our community against the virus. It hasn't been easy. The decisions have to be data-driven, and they have to be able to pivot and change as the virus, things change. So we've done that, but I feel really good about how we have performed and adjusted to the pandemic compared to our peers. Okay.
And, with the masking mandate and everything that's changing and how masks can be off and on and, maybe there's some confusion of, how safe students feel, especially those who might be immunocompromised. How should they feel going into, should they feel safe going into classrooms?
Students should feel very safe here at Temple University. We followed the guidelines of the city throughout this process. In some cases where the city gave us higher education institutions in the city the opportunity to do things the way we wanted, we were more stringent than the city. So for example, I know I've heard from a lot of students, why do we still have to wear masks in the classroom? You don't have a choice about going to class. If you want to graduate, you have to go to class, and you have to do well in those classes in order to graduate. And so we made it so that there's still a mandate to wear a mask in the classroom. That protects students, that protects the faculty members, that allows us to keep our infectious rates down really low. We're only at less than 1% today of infected cases here on campus. So that has been tremendous. If you want to continue to go to school on campus, if we want to have an uninterrupted experience here, given all of the virus ups and downs, then there are some things that we have to do. So to answer your question, students should feel safe because we've followed all the guidelines. We've encouraged people getting boosters. We've encouraged the vaccinations, followed the city's mandates on that, and we still have a mandate on masks in the classroom. So for all those reasons, our rates are lower than most.
So I guess we'll start wrapping up by just talking about the stadium, the proposed stadium, and how would you feel about a stadium coming to campus?
Well, first of all, I'm excited about our athletic program. We have a new athletic director, Arthur Johnson. We have a new football coach, and Stan Drayton, who came from the University of Texas. Both of them actually came from the University of Texas. So I'm excited about the future of our football program and all of our revenue and non-revenue sports. We're excited about that. In terms of a stadium, we have a long-term contract with the Philadelphia Eagles and Lincoln Financial Field down in South Philadelphia, and we're about to renew that contract. And so we have a good place to play. It's a world-class facility. Recruits who come to Temple University are excited, see it as a competitive advantage that we actually are able to play in the same place where the Philadelphia Eagles play. So we have no plans at this time to pursue a stadium here in North Philadelphia. We don't need it. We have a great place to play. We're putting our resources, our energy, and our attention on improving our student-athlete experience for mental health, for winning at the highest level. And we certainly don't want to close any doors. We're always considering options, but that's not a priority for us at this time.
And I want to leave you with, we have like a little viewer's comment, a question for seniors that are graduating. Some of them are a little nervous. They're looking towards the future and they're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Do you have any advice for seniors that are graduating in 2022?
The advice that I have for seniors graduating, well, I have spoken a lot with Temple alumni. Part of my own onboarding experience as a new president has been to talk with recent graduates. And so I've talked with the class of 2019 and 2020 to find out what their experience has been. And it's a little atypical, but still I wanted to find out, what has graduating from Temple and then transitioning into the world of work been like for you? What they have told me is that because of their work ethic, because of how they have been applied here on campus to understand what it's like to work in practical ways and also theoretical thought leadership that underpins that performance, that they are better prepared than other students, than their peers. So I would say to our seniors who are graduating now, understand that you have been prepared in a very world-class way. And so have the confidence to get the job, to do well in the job, and don't be meek about who you are. You are a Temple Owl, and you have had world-class faculty, you have had world-class peers in your classroom experience, and you have the grit, the strength of personality, and the perseverance to be better than anybody in the workplace. So don't be fearful of it.
Right, and do you feel like you have done your job that you, in the last 9 months, do you feel like you fulfilled what you've wanted to do in this time frame? Do you feel like you're getting there? And then also, second question is, what are you looking forward to for the future?
So I'm very pleased with what our team, our leadership team, and the whole Temple community has been able to achieve in the last 9 months. This has been an unprecedented academic year, as we talked about earlier, with COVID, with global conflict, with gun violence all over the country. Mental health and wellness has been a concern. So we have had to deal with, as a university community, more than any university community has had to deal with ever before. So I feel really proud that we have stepped up, that we have been on campus, that we have allowed ourselves the opportunity to really engage with one another and come through this ahead. I'm really excited about that. And so I do feel like we persevered, and I'm proud of all of us for having done that. Moving forward, I want us to be able to learn from the experiences we have, to continue to listen, to be able to set strategy and priorities and to be able to implement those so that it ultimately does what we all want, improve the experience for you, the students. That's our goal. We want to have an impact with our students first and foremost. It requires our faculty. It requires partnerships with the broader community. It requires listening and learning and failing and then, yes, succeeding, but perseverance and grit are at the core of everything that we're trying to do. I'm the chief ambassador for us being the best university that we can be. I know what it takes. I know it takes involvement and inclusion from our students, so I'm really proud of how our students engage with me, engage with our leadership team, challenge our faculty in discourse, and go out and represent us really well in the world of work.
All right, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Meredith. It was a pleasure.